Oscar winner Denzel Washington, The Return of the King. The latest action of 2023, the revenge movie Abyss 3 is coming. The story begins. The mafia boss received an emergency call. He hurried back to the winery with his grandson. The yard was full of corpses of his men. This scene shocked the boss. He asked his grandson to stay in the car, and his subordinates informed him that he was inside. After he entered the room, the scene in front of him made the boss stunned. The whole room was filled with the smell of blood. All his men died tragically here. When he came to the cellar, he finally saw it. The other black man drank red wine calmly and muttered, "Because your people wouldn't let me in, so I was polite." He broke into the winery single-handedly and killed all his men. The boss couldn't believe it. The black man said he was here to get his things back. The boss was surprised. He had never been discovered in so many years. No matter how the black man found him, he couldn't take anything away today. The black man had a serious look on his face. He issued a warning and timed it for 9 seconds to let the other party think clearly. Before the other party could react, the black man counterattacked at the speed of light and killed the other party with lightning speed. The boss was caught off guard and was not killed on the spot. In order to make the other party learn a lesson, the black man made a hole in his butt. The struggling boss thought to himself, "Who is this old guy?" Before he could say anything, the black man shot him in the head. The black man's name was Old Dan, a retired agent. After getting his belongings back, he calmly left the winery and discovered that there was a child in the car. Old Dan asked him to stay in the car, which he never expected. When Dan let his guard down, the boy shot him from behind. The bad guy, Old Dan, was still too kind-hearted and wanted to end it quickly. However, the gun was out of bullets and Old Dan, who was seriously injured, fell down before he could go far. Roadside luck. Thanks to the timely discovery by a kind-hearted person passing by, Lao Dan saved his life. With the help of doctors, the bullet in the body was successfully removed. When Old Dan woke up, the first thing the doctor asked him was, "Are you a good person or a bad person?" The weak Old Dan was extremely alert, but the doctor just wanted him to recover well. After a period of recuperation, Lao Dan's injury improved. The doctor's kindness won Old Dan's trust. Under the guidance of the other party, Lao Dan came outside the house and took a breath. When he came to the cafe, he ordered a cup of coffee. At this time, the police captain came and said hello to him. Old Dan thought he was in trouble, but the other party said that the doctor was everyone trusted him, so the captain, there was no doubt. Old Dan also handed the car keys back to him. Before leaving, the captain's daughter also gave him a small gift. Old Dan was moved by the simplicity and kindness of the father and daughter. Soon, Xiaoya the CIA received a report, and Lao Dan broke the news that the mafia was laundering and smuggling money in the winery, and the CIA borrowed it. If you intervene in this matter, it will be completed. But Old Dan didn't know that Sicily was the beginning of his nightmare. While recuperating on the island, Old Dan noticed the activities of the mafia, who often collected protection fees from stores. For this kind of thing, Lao Dan could only turn a blind eye and go home that day. The fishmonger downstairs was being pestered by these people. Alway asked the fishmonger to take the money, but the fishmonger was tight and couldn't hand it over, so Alway violently attacked him. When Lao Dan couldn't bear it, but his poor health forced him to endure it. Songbiao is a local gangster, and his younger brother Away is responsible for collecting protection fees. In order to build a resort and casino in the local area, Songbiao asked his men to forcibly evict the residents of the building. In order to achieve the goal, they would use any means, including even 80-year-old people. He only saw money and did not care about the lives and bad deeds of these people. All the local people are all in pain. After a period of recuperation, Lao Dan's gunshot wound was basically healed. Later, he went out to buy fish for the doctor. The fishmonger knew that Lao Dan was a friend of the doctor, so he confiscated his money. This shows that the doctor is a good person in the local area. At the same time, the task force led by Xiaoya rushed to the winery. They seized a large amount of drugs and cash, and the situation on the scene made them dumbfounded. All members of the mafia died suddenly here, and there was only one set of fingerprints on the bodies, which meant that they were all killed by the same person. According to the investigation, criminals used the winery to smuggle drugs. 3.4 batches have been smuggled in the past month. If the case is not solved as soon as possible, the harm will be irreparable. The doctor checked old Dan's wound and found that it had basically healed. Why didn't the doctor call the police when Lao Dan was not tested? The doctor mentioned the problem at the time because only a good person would say that. The doctor's answer touched Lao Dan very much. That night, Lao Dan packed his luggage and left without saying goodbye. Unexpectedly, just as he walked downstairs, the fishmonger's store was set on fire. Everyone rushed to put out the fire, but the fishmonger could only watch his home being destroyed. The fishmonger's family was extremely sad, and the doctor him silently. Away on the roadside caught Lao Dan's attention. It turned out that in order to build a casino, Songbiao asked Awei to drive out the villagers. In order to warn everyone, Awei set fire to the fishmonger's house. This situation made Lao Dan hesitate. Instead of sitting idly by and watching, he took the initiative to stay and join the search and rescue team. The next day, the police captain called up video surveillance and quickly located the arson suspect's vehicle. As usual, old Dan came to the coffee shop to drink coffee. The waitress fucked the Yankee generate curiosity on both sides of the chat pro. Cut warm. At the invitation of the other party, Lao Dan also visited the night market town here. The life was pleasant and beautiful, and the people were happy. A peaceful Lao Dan quickly integrated into the place. Soon Lao Dan based on surveillance, and they hit it off immediately. Lao Dan also asked about the progress of the situation. Xiaoya just wanted to know who the old man in front of her was. Lao Dan didn't want to get involved, saying that he was just a retired old man and wanted to know Lao Dan's identity. Xiaoya probably has to apply for permission. Lao Dan gave it a try and did not tell Xiaoya his identity directly, but let Xiaoya. After he got to the bottom of the matter, he went to school. The captain planned to pick up his daughter from school without thinking, but the teacher told him that his colleagues would help pick her up. The child realized that something was wrong, and the captain immediately rushed home. Awei led people to find his home and warned the captain not to be too concerned about the arson case, because everyone was in the same boat, and his family would be implicated if he didn't follow suit. Faced with the threat of the mafia, the captain can only choose to compromise. Seeing that old Dan asked the doctor about the situation. The doctor said that the mafia here was like a cancer that could never be eradicated. Lao Dan secretly made up his mind to eradicate these evil forces. Then, Lao Dan actively started recovery training. When she climbed to the top of the mountain, Xiaoya had been waiting here for a long time. According to her investigation, the winery boss was the most wanted criminal by Interpol for 10 years. He ran a huge criminal empire and stole overseas accounts, including government agencies and criminal elements involved in Pension Winery. At present, at the time, he didn't have much clue, but he was certain that Lao Dan was not a suspect. Xiaoya is curious why Lao Dan found him. Lao Dan asked back, why is there such a large-scale drug smuggling in a port that has always had zero tolerance for drug crimes? Under Lao Dan's prompting, Xiaoya had a new direction of investigation. In the evening, the captain planned to have dinner with his family. Unexpectedly, Awei suddenly caused trouble and asked the errand boy. At this moment, Lao Dan's gaze aroused Awei's displeasure. He came to Lao Dan and warned him not to meddle in other people's business. Lao Dan was not used to telling Awei to get out of here. Awei wanted to show off his watch, but without waiting for a reaction, Lao Dan pressed it against the wall and pinched the opponent's median nerve, indicating that the pain here was on a 10th level. At level 4, Wei would become incontinent, and the result was just if pinched to 2, Awei can't stand it anymore. Old Dan warned the other party not to harass the captain's family again, otherwise he would be embarrassed.